One of the many definitions of emotional intelligence says it is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. Simply put, it is the key to both personal and professional success. Again, personal and professional success. But it's not this simple because it has layers and requires learning, practicing, and absorbing. For me, it's one of the topics I most grapple with because I'm a heart on my sleeves type of girl, and I haven't quite learned, well, yes, true. I haven't quite learned to master my emotions such that they work for me instead of against me. So I'm always super excited to have the opportunity to learn from experts like my guest. So let me quickly introduce him. Inahoro Okai. I'm going to ask him, how do I pronounce your surname, please?
Okai.
Okay, excellent. Inahoro Okai is the managing director of PlusTvAfrica, which is presently the only West African partner to the 6 Seconds Emotional Intelligence Network in the US, and a Nigerian delivery partner for the KPI Institute in Australia. He's also the founder of Simeon's Pivot Resources, a leading human resource and management consulting firm, as well as the CEO of Gig Mobility, Nigeria's biggest road transport company. Inahoro presently serves as president of the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria, and he's got like loads of certifications and qualifications, and yeah, he's like really awesome, so I'm super excited. So welcome, Inahoro. I really am honored to have you here.
Excited to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So we were having the conversation the other day.
Yeah.
I wanted you to talk about a completely different topic, and then we started talking about emotional intelligence.
That's what life is all about.
Yep. So it's really cool that we're going to be talking about that today.
Mm-hmm.
So let's delve right in. What is emotional intelligence?
I think that it is better to describe it than to define it. But there are various definitions. Okay. The simplest one would be that emotional intelligence is the capacity to be smart with your emotions.
The capacity to be smart.
Smart with your emotions. So just let that sink in. You know, when you are a smart person, it means that you are able to make good judgments. You are able to analyze before you make decisions. Now, that can be with your business, that can be with, you know, your children at home, that can be with things that are logical. But what about with your emotions? When you're angry, are you smart? When you are irritated, are you still smart? So if a synonym for smart is wise, and another synonym is clever, and another synonym for smart is brilliant. So I would say, are you brilliant with your irritation? Are you clever with your anger? Are you wise with your sadness? Are you wise with your joy? Are you clever with your excitement? Are you brilliant with your happiness? In the midst of an emotion, right? Are you smart enough to be able to do what is appropriate in that situation? Because emotions are drivers, right?
So that I was going to ask you, sorry to interrupt you. So
it's okay.
Number one, what does smart mean? Number two, what is an emotion? Let's even understand the two words.
So, I mean, to be smart in a situation is to be able to make good judgment and be and respond rather than react. So, I mean, you can be smart with your mathematics, right? See, yeah, he's a smart kid. It means that he's able to look at the mathematical equation and make good judgments, isn't it, right? So, but when you feel that emotion, what is emotion? Emotions are simply chemicals, right? Chemicals that our body produces as a result of a perception to a situation, right? So you've got a perception to the door that was just banged, right? What's the perception? Stored in your memory. Maybe you don't like doors being banged because your mom, your dad, your uncle, they've always spanked you growing up whenever you bang the door. So that story is stored in your memory. Now you've got a preference or a prejudice. You don't like the door to be banged. The cells in your body, they've stored that information, right? There's something called thalamus in our brain. It knows you so much to the extent that it knows that you don't like that thing, right? And so immediately it happens, then chemicals are released. and then you have a feeling, right? So when we talk about emotion, we're talking about perception that have been built in your brain that helps to perceive a situation, and emotions are released in your body. And that perception can be true, it can be false, it can be negative, it can be positive, but it's a perception, and it's there, it's stored. Each cells of our body they've got power to keep memories. So everything that has happened to you in life create preferences and prejudices, and immediately something happens, chemicals are released, electrochemicals, and then it drives you, because every time you feel an emotion, you want to do something. Now the challenge is, some people feel the emotion, they want to do something, but they're able to take a pause, and that's why we call pause factory. They're able to take a pause and then decide which action is appropriate for this situation, irrespective of what I'm feeling. So I'm feeling irritated, but I'm in my in-laws' house because everywhere is dirty. Now, I know that I don't like dirty places. Now, I'm feeling irritated, but what action is appropriate now? Because my irritation already has an automatic action that it would have loved to take. It has been built. My anger already has an automatic action. When I get home and everywhere is scattered, my irritation already has an automatic action. Now, automatic action is what comes out when you don't filter and choose yourself, and then you just keep acting. And then a lot of times people act without thinking, without analyzing, and then they burn their fingers because they felt an emotion and they're not able to choose the appropriate action for the situation. And a lot of us practice emotional intelligence, but just in different areas of our life. Some people are able to do it well, some people are not able to do it well. Some people are able to do it with their boss, some people are able to do it with their children, and then some people are not just able to do it and they have to learn.
Wow. Okay. On that note, we're going to go on a quick break and we'll be right back. You've given me a lot of food for thought. Just hold on to that thought. Welcome back. So, before we went on the break, Inahoro dropped some bombs. And on the break, I was having a few conversations with him, and I said something around somebody created negative emotions in me, and I'm going to let him respond again.
And then I said the person didn't create the emotion, right? The person took an action. The person said something, the person was slow, the person was too fast, the person used words that are not good for you. People would always do stuff. Life would always happen. And that is not in your domain, right? You don't create what happens to you. But when they happen, what would you do? So the same thing will happen to three people. One of them will take an action that he will regret for the rest of his life. The other one will take an action that would move him forward. The other one will take an action that is good for everybody in the situation. But the same thing happened to them. So it is not about what happens to you. It's about what you are able to choose to do after it has happened. You know, we say life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of what you do after it has happened. So there are going to be triggers of life. Like, definitely. One of the characteristics of the triggers of life is that it never stops. It's on the road, it's on the house, it's on the phone, it's on the social media, it's everywhere. And when they keep coming at you, right, you don't have to make a choice. So those who practice emotional intelligence, right, they know that there's a difference between the triggers that have happened to them and their choices. And you would feel, and that's why I said, really, there's no negative emotion. Anger is not a negative emotion. Anger is an emotion that you feel because you perceive a certain level of blockage in your life. Right? Even if it's a blockage from the door handle, you feel angry. Fear is not a negative emotion. It's an emotion you feel when there are uncertainties in your life. And they're like fire. Is fire negative or positive? No. It's like the sea, the ocean. Is it negative or positive? No. They are elements, right? Those who use them well would advance commerce through the sea. Those who don't use them well because you didn't manage your ship well, we capsize. Right? Those who do use the electricity well, we're enjoying it. If you don't use it well, somebody will get electrocuted and die. That's what emotions are like. That's why we say they are electrochemicals. And so you feel the chemical because something has happened, and that's okay. You feel irritated, that's okay. You feel annoyed, that's okay. You feel exhilarated, that's okay. You feel joy, that's okay. After you feel all of these feelings, then what? Because guess what? Nobody can see the feeling until you express, and that's an action. until you take your first action, where you express, where you yell, where you walk away, where you insult, when until you take the action. Nobody knows you're feeling anything. We don't know you're feeling anything until you express. So it's okay for you to feel. But when you feel, you need to make a choice. It's like sitting in a room with all your superiors. Things are going so bad in the organization. And then you look at your phone because it vibrated. And all of a sudden, there's an alert of good money. But the office is tense. Would you jump for joy? You won't jump for joy. You will look at your phone. You will feel joy. Nobody would know you're feeling joyful. But you're looking so calm and you're listening to your directors. But if we open you up, you're feeling joy. Filled with joy. What you've done is that irrespective of the joy that you were feeling, you've been able to take an action that is appropriate for the situation that you're in. And once they open that door and everybody's going out, you burst out because now it's okay to take that action. You are choosing. Now, if you jump for joy because you received an alert of money in a meeting that is tense, then you're going to work against yourself. You're going to bite your fingers. That's what we do. That's how we practice emotional intelligence. We always choose. Sometimes people choose where to choose. You don't get so hungry and you eat sand. It's a choice. You don't get so aroused and you sleep with your mother. It's a choice. Right? So we are able to choose in certain places. We're not able to choose in certain places. Because you get home and everywhere is scattered, then you can yell on the children and spank the children. But you get to the office, everywhere is scattered because they've told you not to yell in the office. You try your best not to yell. And for some people, they are not able to do it. And we bite our fingers. So people don't create emotions in you. People do things. And then because of the perception you have about that thing, stored perception, cultural perception, all sort of perception, preferences and prejudices, because of those things that have been stored in you, you then are able to feel something. Has it not happened to you before? Somebody always does something that makes you feel irritated. And then one day you say to yourself, you know what? No, I won't allow this guy to irritate me anymore. Now, the person continues to do that thing, but you don't feel irritated again anymore. You just walk past. He does it. You don't give a damn anymore. What changed? Did he change? No. Your thoughts and your perception about what he's doing, you choose to change it, and then your emotions will change.
Okay, so what are the tools that we need to be emotionally intelligent?
Great.
Everyday tools.
One of the most important tools that you need is to be aware of what we're talking about. It's called awareness. Reading a new book is an awareness. Watching this TV program is an awareness, right? Because if you don't have that awareness, you won't even be able to choose what to do, right? Be aware that there's such a thing as being able to manage my emotion. First, be aware. Read a book. Go for a training. Be aware that you've got capacity to choose, whether you can choose it now or not. Let that even begin to work within you. Because without awareness, you can never have any form of transformation, right? So people should begin, to become an accountant. You were aware, you went to school, you read accounting, you understand the bidder, you understand profit and loss, you understand balance sheets. I mean, that's how you became an accountant. The more you are aware, the better you are. To become an engineer, you went to school, you learned a lot of things about engineering, dimension, piling, building, and you're a civil engineer. The more you are aware, the better you become. Now, as a human being, you have to be aware that there are emotions. Education. You understand? So awareness starts from, being educated, reading, understanding, listening. Secondly, awareness is knowing yourself. Know your strength. Know your weaknesses. You understand? Know that every time somebody does this, this is what I do. Know that it is not working for you, right? Realize it. Come to a realization. Because when all of these don't happen, it's like someone calling me in an office and say, Mr. Anahoro, we want you to come and help us. This head of department, he's doing this all of the time. And you speak to the guy say, I don't see anything wrong in what I'm doing. I'm trying to move the organization forward. As far as he's not aware, there's nothing you can do until the day he realizes. And of course, there are strategies to help him aware as consultant. But until the day he realizes that this is working against me, then he will move to a new level of awareness. So the first thing is, when you find yourself in a situation, somebody just yelled on you. You made a call and they're not answering. You keep calling and the person is not answering. That's a situation. You're in traffic and you don't like what's going on because you're running late. That's a situation, right? When you're in a situation, your emotions will push. The first thing you need to do is to be aware that I'm in a situation, to be aware that this situation makes me yell, or to be aware that I'm about to yell, I'm about to spank, I'm about to insult. Be aware. Now, that awareness is happening within you. Nobody knows. And the capacity to do that is to take a pause in the middle of what is going on. Pause, and be aware.
What
It's
if
like
you're
reading a
aware
mail.
And in your awareness, you've reacted.
Yeah,
That's when you now realize,
so that's
oh
the
my
first
God, I
step,
shouldn't have
and then I'll give you the
reacted.
second step.
Yeah.
The first step is not an action. So if you take action first, you're not practicing emotional intelligence. The first step is the realization. Reading that mail in that office and say, man, I'm irritated with this mail. It's okay to be irritated. Nobody can see it. Right? And you're looking at that mail and you're aware, what is this person trying to? You are irritated as you're reading the mail. But the mistake is to reply the mail immediately with what you're feeling. The mistake is to yell because of what you're feeling. You don't do things because of feeling. You do things because of goals. So the first step is to be aware in the midst of the situation. Be aware that the children are yelling again, and these children are yelling again. They're shouting everywhere, and I don't like it. Be aware. Sometimes it takes a second. Sometimes it takes quarter of a second to realize, to be aware. You feel the emotions flush through your body. First step. Second step is to take that pause and ask yourself, what are my options now? And that's what a lot of people don't do. That's what Will Smith did not do. Great guy. He didn't ask, what are my options? But let's even ask, okay, what are my options? You know, list about 3, 4, 5 options in 1 second. But the most important thing is, of all of these options, like you said you did what yesterday? Yeah. So of all of the options that you had, why that one? And that's where emotional intelligence helps you to make a choice. In order to take the action, you must be able to tell yourself the why. And the why, they've got characteristics, right? The why is, what is the most important overarching reason why I'm here? So if you're a customer service officer, the most important reason why you're here is to serve the customer and to move your organization forward. So the customer is yelling on you. You feel irritated, but the most important reason, the overarching purpose of being here, right? The overarching purpose of being in the marriage, the overarching purpose of anything that you're doing should give you a guide to what you should choose. Usually they are noble. They don't bring people down. Usually they make all of us grow. Are you getting it? Usually they move us forward. They don't take us backward. So which choice, which of those options would you take to then move us forward? So what people do is, rather than gravitate towards where we're going, the goal, you know, what's most important right now. It's like a man getting home and the food is not as tasty as he wants, or is not ready. What's the most important thing in that home? Because the emotion will say, I'm irritated. I mean, this thing doesn't taste like. But you either go with the emotion or you go with the most important right now. What's most important in your marriage? It's peace and communication, and make this marriage a happy home and all of that. Now I can yell, I can irritate, I can walk away from the food, I can use my hand to do the food like that, I can do all of that. But which one, even though I don't like the taste, which one is going to move us forward? Oh, I should let my wife know that I don't like the taste, so how should I do it? When you go with that one, you'll be able to express the fact that you don't like the taste of this food as a man. And then you explain why and all of that. And then maybe you guys give yourself a hug and she says, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was going to taste like that. Can I do something else for you? Now, in the midst of that irritation, you've chosen something that is appropriate for you and your wife and the family in that regard. That choice. So you take a pause. If you don't practice pause, and people ask me, well, why is the organization called Pause Factory? Because I said it's because it's the most important element in the entire process. You take a pause to understand what you're feeling. You take a pause to see the options. You take a pause to choose the option that is most appropriate, that moves everybody forward. We call it optimal, that moves everybody forward rather than take us backward.
Okay, so number 1, awareness. Number 2, pause.
Yeah, and ask yourself, what are the options?
And then ask yourself,
you know, people like to hear things like, don't yell, don't do that. I mean, those kind of things, like when they scratch your car, don't, you know, different situations in life will call for different things. And that's why it's difficult to tell someone what to do with your son whenever he does this. Because today and tomorrow is different. So it's like someone scratches your car on 3rd Mainland Bridge in the afternoon. You're able to come out and then you're able to, do your Nigerian thing. Do you know who I am? Why did you do this? And all of that. And they apologize to you and then you feel good about it. But someone scratches your car under the bridge at Oshodi at night. You want to do the same thing?
True.
You might be robbed. You might be killed. Now, the same situation, different times require different responses. Now, an emotionally intelligent person would know that this place at this time in the night, what's most important, what's overaching is my safety. What would bring me safety? Leave this place now. But if you do what you did in the morning because it's scratch, then you're going to bite your fingers. So the capacity to be able to see options, you must be able to see the options. Now, the problem is when we are already used to one option and it is stored, it is registered. That's what I've always done. That's what I whenever I do it, I feel good. I've given them a piece of my heart. I ask them, how many people have you given? How many part of the heart is remaining? Right? That one that you do that makes you feel, you know when you spank your child and your child did not cry because he did something, and then you call the child back and then you spank the child again just because you want to feel that cry, and then the child cries and then you say go. And I'm going to ask you, what was the goal of the beating? Was it for the child to show pain or for the child to be corrected? Now, a lot of people actually want that child to feel pain. And because that pain makes them feel better that I've corrected the child. But in reality, what you wanted to do is to spank the child and correct the child. So our emotions are always driving us. The capacity to, we call it choose yourself.
Choose yourself.
Choose yourself. You'll find
How
peace.
can you do this easily? Because I am a culprit of this problem and I have bitten my fingers many times because I've made the wrong choices.
Start by practicing. Now you are aware. Start by practicing. You remember that you actually practiced your auto run all of these years. You practice how to block people that don't make you feel good. You practice how to wear them on your sleeve. You actually practice them. You've been practicing since 1 year, 2 year old, 3 year old. And I don't know how old you are right now. You've practiced it. It's become part of you. If you want to begin to change that, the first thing you need to do, start practicing it. Don't beat yourself if you fail in the morning. Try it again. And then try it again. Now, when you do this, it's called neuroplasticity. Your brain begins to realize that there's a new way we want to begin to act. Who are we? The brain and you, right? There's a new way we want to begin to act. There's a new way. Okay, and the brain registers it. It registers it. Another day you try it, it's registered. Another day you try it, it's registered. Sometimes when you try it, you feel pain. Remember when you go to the gym because you want to slim down, you want to burn fat? When you go for the first time, what do? You practice and then you feel what? You feel pain. Now that pain is a positive pain. We call it taking the fish out of the water. Because there's a level of practice in emotional intelligence where you go through discomforts to get to comfort. So you feel that pain on the first day in the gym, but if you go again, you feel the pain. You go again, you feel the pain. After a while, you keep doing the same thing and you're not feeling the pain anymore. That's how it works with emotion. You decide to be quiet for a situation because you believe that quiet is better because your mouth is always running. The first time you're quiet, you're going to feel pain, like someone is piercing your heart, like you've just been cheated, that you've just been talked down on, like you have less of yourself. You feel that pain. Don't forget that that's a discomfort. You're going to a place that you call comfort. The next time you keep quiet for that person, and the next time you keep quiet for that person, the pain begins to reduce. After a while, you know how to keep quiet and you feel nothing. And now the person is wondering, she doesn't see anything anymore. How do I trigger her next? Now you're in charge of yourself. You are not enslaved to your emotion anymore. You practice it.
Wow. Can you do that on your own?
You can start doing it just because you're watching this TV right now. And start it in your home right now if you're watching this program. Like you can just start practicing right now. Sometimes you need a coach. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you need a training. Now we run a lot of training, right? People come for training and then their life changes for the rest of their life. And they meet me somewhere and they say, your book. I read your book and it changed my marriage. It changed everything. Some people say, I came for your training. I mean, I was in a training recently and somebody said, everything that you taught me like 6 years ago has changed my life completely. Now, but some people need a coach. They need somebody to help them, Let's meet in a week. Let's look at what you've done in a week. Where did you make a mistake? What were you feeling? What were you thinking? What did you do? All right, so if we're going to try it, if it happens again, what do you think you should do? Now, some people need coaching. 1 week coaching, 2 weeks, 6 months coaching, depending on how terrible.
But then you can start in your home.
Oh, of course. But you can start right now. I mean, just here right now. You can start by unblocking the person and saying that choice that I made yesterday, maybe not.
No, I'm not going to do that. But on that note, this has been supercharged. And I really, really hope that everybody has learned a lot. As always, the time runs off too, we run out of time so quickly.
Yeah, but little information is enough
yes.
every now and then. Everybody
Yes.
can take it together at once. Yeah.
For sure. What's your Instagram handle? So that if anybody wants to look for you on Instagram.
Okuneye, Enahoro My name, Enahoro Okuneye, one word.
At Enahoro Ohai. Okay. Thank you so much,
It's
Enahoro.
my pleasure doing this.
Really, really is awesome. And I'm going to be having a long conversation with you after this. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I really, really hope that we've learned a thing or two. John, Helen, and myself are going to very, very quickly round up the show. So please, please stay tuned. Thank you.